Why the M3 method is the M3 method. To be straight up, it's a fancy way of saying 3-step process. First, I call it bet on the fastest horse. You should bet on whatever times, days, platforms, placements are most likely to make you cash. Second piece of this is structure and strategy. And the final piece of the M3 method is
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Ecommerce Coffee Break podcast. Today we're diving into one of the biggest headaches for online sellers, scaling ads profitably. Most brands hit a wall because their ad spend, their data and campaigns are too broad to drive real growth, or worse, they're just burning cash. In this episode, we're breaking down how to turn ads into a profit machine. My guest today is Piliero. He is the CEO and founder of the Moonlighters, a marketing agency that helps brands scale from 1 to 10 billion and above with Meta and Google ads. Before that, he led growth at BarkBox and ran paid ads for top brands at VaynerMedia. Sam has 11 years of Facebook advertising experience, and he is here to share the strategies that actually work. We have a lot to cover, so let's get into it. Sam, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Sam, most brands know the frustration, and that includes me, when their campaign stall. From your perspective, what's the biggest mistake you see when they are trying to scale their ad spend?
It really depends on the size that you're at right now. I'll give us through an example. We were just looking at some data literally this morning on an account that was pretty much running for the last 2 straight years, that was spending no more than $3,000 to $5,000 per month. And they started to tick things up a bit. They'd, really dug into some advice. They'd started to increase spend 10, 15%, 20% every couple of days. And then we started working with them. And this is no means to just what we did on our side, but really just breaking through the barrier, the mental barrier of scaling. And we worked with them for about 60 days. We're still working with them. 60 days in, we went from about $17,000 in ad spend to 50. And then this month we're on pace for 139. And that doesn't happen by increasing 10% or increasing 5%. It also doesn't happen when you're wasting ad spend in a lot of different places. So the approach that we took with this account, and that we've taken with plenty of accounts, but this is just a real true winner, is that we don't mind if a chunk of the total ad spend is going to 2 or 3 ads. Like if 70% of the entire account is going to 2 or 3 ads, fantastic. You have winners. Like double down on those winners, right? There's a reason, like you can use any analogy in the sports world, for example. You pay your best player an outsized amount of money compared to everyone else on your team. You need everyone else to make the team actually function, but without the star player, you never make it to the playoffs. You never win the championship. And I think that's a good analogy that people should think about when they see one ad that gets 80% of their total ad spend. And then in that same vein, not being held to like the learning phase that we've been indoctrinated with, and just really feeling like you could push up spend when you're hitting your targets. So with this brand in particular, and anyone could apply this to any brand, we pushed very, very, very hard. I should say my team pushed very hard when things were going well. So when we were under the target CPA or over a target return on ad spend, depending on how you manage the business, don't worry about 10% increases. Be completely content with 40% increases on that campaign, 50% increases, right? Because that's the only way. I mean, it's a 60-day timeline from 17,000 to 140,000 or 139,000. That doesn't happen with 15% increments.
I think it's important to highlight that it takes a couple of weeks to get there. We're now in Q3. Q4 is around the corner. So if you really want to ramp up, you need to get started there. Now, specifically Meta as a platform, also Google has changed a lot and put a lot of AI in there. So and people are probably under an impression now is like AI takes care of everything and I don't have to do anything. Is that true or not?
I think the laugh at the end there probably indicates that that it's not true. I think maybe we get to a point way down the line where that is fully the case. The algorithms are getting better, but they're not necessarily perfect by any means. And what you needed to do, I'd say probably 8 years ago now, like 2018 rough range, are the things you still need to be doing today. So we've been so indoctrinated in the last really 5 years to go all broad, right? iOS 14.5, huge paradigm shift. Everyone's like broad, 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 broad. All you can do is go broad. The long story short on this is that was true for a period because Facebook lacked all the data because they had to stop collecting the data. Then they reinvented with the CAPI. They reinvented how their pixel functions, how they collect user information, etc. And we're at this point now where we have a lot of information again. And one of the highlights of that information is two things that you could do for free in your ad account right now, which is set up your audience breakdowns so you can see new, engage, and existing audiences. And then B, use or at least look at incremental attribution. And I think when I think about the ramp up to Q4, when I think about some bleeding of cache sometimes and how these AI algorithms are supposed to be making that easy for us, they're really not, because oftentimes all they care about is where is the next cheapest available purchase. When in reality, the next cheapest available purchase or customer is the one that's probably going to convert without spending any more money on them, or only requires a little bit of cash on them. So your incrementality rates decrease when you let Facebook run wild. And if you're a brand that's spending, $1 million a month, this doesn't apply as acutely to you. But if you're a brand that's spending $20,000 a month, $50,000 a month, or in the ranges, right? Then you wasting $5,000 on existing customers or engaged audiences, as opposed to the only needing to spend $2,000. Well, think about it like this. If you spent 30 as your total, I won't go too hard into math, but if you spend 30 on your total and you could have saved $3,000 on audiences that were going to maybe convert anyway, or you could have hit for free on email, SMS, etc., that's 10% of your budget that could have went to new audiences. That's a lot over the course of months, weeks, etc.
No, totally, I get this. And I'm sort of relieved that you say it's sort of back to the old times to a certain degree, and now with the help of AI. I'm doing also Facebook ads and Google ads for ages, and I stuck to it sort of against the news coming out, AI is doing everything. Now, one thing people, I think, struggle the most with is coming up with new ad creative all the time. What's your take on that?
You're right. The two sides of creative that have kind of swung back and forth have been, do we just keep creating new iterations, or do we always create brand new concepts? There's a book actually right behind me. It's hidden behind there. It's called Steal Like an Artist. And when I joined VaynerMedia in my first week, my boss there gave me this book, Steal Like an Artist, recommend it to everyone. It's basically an adult picture book. Like, it's a kid's book. You can read it in 30 minutes. And essentially what it breaks down is the idea of taking your competitor ideas and making them better. It's a super short version of it, but they have a little formula, it's nice. So that really applies to ad concepts these days. And I think the biggest brands in the world, what they're doing is a combination of home runs where they're trying a totally new concept out, but then very, very fast iterations. I just recorded something on this to share outwardly in a similar vein, where the best thing you can do is, take the home run swing, but pre-think about the variations that you need to create for this. So for example, let's say I was selling AirPods here, and it was a picture of me smiling at the camera. No one would buy it, but if it was me behind the camera, and variation 2 was me with the AirPods open behind the camera. And variation 3 was me with them in my ears behind the camera. Those are easy variations that can be created in the same photo shoot, essentially at the same time. And that can go for video, it can go for stills, it can go for carousels, etc. And that doesn't just apply to me. Maybe it could be, if this shot worked with holding the AirPods up next to me, maybe we now just need a woman to do the exact same thing. Or maybe we need someone that looks a little bit different than me to do the exact same thing. And I think if you could pre-shoot some of your iterations, then when the main primary concept proves to work, you then have this like gasoline ready to go, right? You have the boost ready to go. And you see like Dr. Squatch do a fantastic job at this, especially. They're like my favorite. You see brands like Talentless in the US do a fantastic job at this. These brands that have almost either pre-shot or have the ability to shoot like next day and get their iterations out the door. And they find winning concepts. And instead of just always trying to reinvent, they just keep making new of the concept they know works, right? Whether it's a certain template over an image or a certain hook on a video with a different person, right? There's these core concepts or staples, we should say, that some brands have the capability to carry forward. And if they stick to those staples and always just try another home run every couple of weeks, try another home run, one of those home runs hits, a lot strike out. You miss a lot of home runs. You get out on most of those. But when they work, then you have winning concepts and winning themes. Then you can create iterations on top and you're almost stacking. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. And sometimes, as I said, you have basically 3 iterations of the same topic and one will win. It's subtle changes, but sometimes it's human psychology. One of the versions of the variants, as you said, is a winner, while the other ones, for unknown reasons, do not convert. Makes perfect sense. Now, at the Moonlighters, you do things a little bit different than other agency, and you have something that's called the M3 method. Talk me through it. What is it?
Let me preface by saying the Moonlighters is built for the $1 to $10 million business, right? So there's big businesses and there's big agencies for those $100 million businesses. And then there's very small businesses and those should generally require consultants and such. But the reason that the Moonlighters was built and why we focused on this specific brand size is because they're underserved in the market. So if you just look very quickly at the market, you'll notice that the VaynerMedias of the world, places where I've worked in the past, or even a stage under those agencies, they're $20,000, $30,000 per month scopes of work or greater, $50,000 scopes of work. And what that obviously creates is you have a massive profit and big teams on those sides, which is beautiful. But a $3 million business cannot afford that. There's literally no room to spend that much money. It's the equivalent of hiring 6 people full time. Doesn't make any sense. And then on the flip side, there's these very, very small built agencies that hire all overseas staff. And the overseas staff situation, people could argue, oh, they work better, they do this. They might, but they don't culturally understand the ads that are showing up in the US right here, right now. And they don't often speak the same lingo. Not language is fine, but lingo, right? They don't understand the same business terminology. And let's just call it for what it is. You are generally looking for people who are based either in the US, Canada, UK, like you're looking for sharpness. So what we decided to do was say, let's cut all the fluff out of a normal business, a normal agency model. Let's hire US, Canada, UK only. And let's focus on the $1 to $10 million business and let's curate our scopes for that. So what that means is the way that we approach things is very different than the way a big agency approaches things, where they could, put $50,000 worth of resources on your account. And then very different than the small agency where you have like this account manager and media buyers staffed who knows where, and you have to play telephone. It's very awkward. The same person on our team, call everyone growth directors. We only hire senior talent. But the reason I add all this context around what the M3 method is because the method only works when you have someone who's understanding what the business needs and is implementing as well. Because it all ties together. So we never are looking just like at Facebook performance alone or Google performance alone. We're always looking at, what does Shopify say? What's profit? What are the margins? What's the cost of goods? Like we're understanding more than just the top level. And really what that all boils down to and why the M3 method is the M3 method. Be straight up, it's a fancy way of saying 3-step process. That 3-step process is, first, I call it bet on the fastest horse. Betting on the fastest horse is a great concept of, if you were at a horse race, you would never put $100 on every single horse. You would lose, the house would win. What you should do instead is you should, no gambling advice here, but you should bet on whatever times, days, platforms, placements are most likely to make you cash. This goes back to like 2015, 16 ad strategy. And day of the week is the most impactful one, day of week analysis. I'm interweaving a few stories here, but when I was at my time at BarkBox, which was $100 million business at the time and about $2 billion business when we IPO'd, basically we spent different money on different days of the week and different amounts. We did not plug in $100 a day on Facebook it was like $100,000 a day, but we did not plug in $100 a day on Facebook and say Monday through Sunday, 100. What we did was we figured out which days of the week performed better. We spent more on those days of the week. Almost every single business has a relationship like this with their customer. If you're in pet, then when your pets are home, you're gonna convert better. If you're in fashion, Thursday, Friday, Saturdays, you generally convert better. If you're in like grocer, Sunday, right? There's just like all different things per category, but you could confirm this with yourself in your own business by just looking at your Shopify metrics. There's no silver bullet. So that's stage one. We always want to look at where can we allocate the cash where it's most likely to make the most money back. Second piece of this is structure and strategy. So structure wise, I hinted at before, one of the most important things you can do these days is have clear, what I call swim lanes. So I call these swim lanes because if you think about them as like walls, then it's not a true representation. In a swimming pool, you have water that's shared between the lanes, and sometimes the water is moved around in each lane. You can feel the impact of each lane. If you have a fast swimmer and a slow swimmer or something, or a big person, a small person. But you're staying in your lane generally. And that's why we always break out our accounts in a specific structure. And that structure is mostly prospecting clearly on its own, retargeting clearly on its own, retention, existing customers really on its own. And then at the top, a scaling mechanism in place. And the final piece of the M3 method is cost controls. A lot of people know these as cost caps, whether it's cost caps, bid caps, TROAS, TCPA, target impression share. It doesn't matter. It's just the idea that we need our system to get better with randomness. Most people think that randomness is the enemy, but if you're set up right, randomness is actually the best possible thing for an ad account. Because when it's hot out and you sell beach towels, people are going to buy more beach towels. So if you're set up in a way where you don't have to do a thing and it's hot weather in Florida for 3 days and you know you're going to surge beach towels, then the algorithm and the amount spent has wiggle room for you to actually increase spend on that specific day and then decrease spend when you're not able to hit your cost cap. That's probably the quickest lesson I can give on cost caps, but they're generally a very important control that actually favor randomness, I should say. That makes sense?
It makes perfect sense. And I think that was a master class, a short one in how to structure a campaign. And also I think there's a lot of golden nuggets in for our listeners. Listen to this twice. What I like is that you really go as deep as into the day, into the hour of the day, to optimize. I think a lot of brands out there, they just see is like, yeah, we have, I don't know, summer season, or they have their different seasons. And then that's over the year how they optimize their marketing budget overall. And I think really breaking it down to the user behavior on the weekly basis, on an hourly basis, makes much more sense. So I think that's a thought that really is a good takeaway to think about, and maybe just look into the data. And as I said, Shopify will present you with the data and think what's happening in your business. Now, I was on your website. I see you have a lot of very good testimonials there. Can you give me an example, a case study of a brand that you worked with and what kind of results they saw?
Yeah. So, man, there's so many brands that I can't share their exact name and the exact result that I would love to. But I'll give you one of our oldest standing clients that we've been working with for quite a while now. This is a client that I worked with at VaynerMedia. And then when I left VaynerMedia eventually, thanks to the amazing, how do you say, like the spreading of wealth of Gary Vaynerchuk, he was so happy when they wanted to follow me and allow me to continue to run their ads. So this client's Young Nails. They're a nail care brand. They were a professional brand. When they first started working with us, they literally had a password on their store. Like it was that behind closed
Okay.
doors. And this was roughly 2017, 2018. This is one of my first clients. I learned a lot with them. And along the way, this brand has shifted from literally backs against their wall, like we have 3 months left of run rate in this business, to a, can't say the exact number, but a tens of millions, deca million business folded up a few times. They really took not just the strategy and advice by the horns, but they just saw every opportunity and they just dove in, right? They doubled down on social. The moment Reels came out, doubled down. Once TikTok became popular, doubled down, right? They went from a company that basically had no skills behind the camera, was not a creative company. I mean, literally like PowerPoint editing, like it was ugly, to like full blown best in class video, Canon cameras everywhere you could walk, right? They just leveled up one at a time. And then they learned this is what hooks do. This is what body does. This is what free value does. And I think, not to tie this too hard, but like the philosophy that they taught me through working with them has been that if you just keep giving value to the market in no matter your market, and you position that value properly, you can put yourself in a scenario where you have too many customers. You can put yourself in a scenario where you have wait lists longer than you ever expected, or selling out every single time you throw something on sale or drop a new product, just because you're giving outsized value to the market.
Mm-hmm. I love the example that you need to be willing to learn and to stay on top what's happening in the digital marketing world. And there will be always new things coming. And normally the platforms, they push whatever new feature they have very hard so that people jump on it. And that's probably the best time to jump on it because it's the cheapest. It's only getting more expensive the longer these features are around. Now, tell me about the onboarding process with you guys. How long does it take? What kind of homework do I need to do? How does it work?
So basically on our side right now, thanks to just the good graces of a lot of brands and people not leaving, which is wonderful, we have about an 8-week wait list at this current recording time. Now, we don't want that wait list to always be a full 8 weeks, but basically how the onboarding works on our side is, I'll give you the full detail. If you're above a certain revenue and spend, and you're ready to take on an agency, and I should say, you shouldn't take an agency on if you're not even spending $10,000 a month, right? We're not trying to take your money. Like, don't, it's not time yet. Work with your consultant, get dangerous. If you're a founder, if you don't even know ads too well, just get dangerous. Learn. I mean, I have 100 plus YouTube videos that you could watch from me or other people out there too. Like, it's just get dangerous in the ad platform, because then when you actually work with someone like my team or anyone else's agency or consultant, you're going to be able to critique that so much better than if you go in blind, right? People get taken advantage of all the time, and you can't. If you're an owner of an e-commerce business, especially, like, you'll just get dangerous with your numbers. You'll get good. So I'd always advise people sub $10,000, do it on your own. Once you start to get to $10,000 to $30,000, somewhere in that range, something starts to happen where A, it takes way more time, and then B, not only is there a time change, but your business is growing. So what you're needed over here goes from, oh, I need this much time to I need this much time on this side, and this ad side went from taking up this much time to this much time. So you have two things that grow together, and you just don't have the time anymore. And also a 5% change at $100,000 versus a 5% change at $1,000 is very different. So I would always encourage people minimum 10K to really start to look for an agency or start to look for a premium consultant. On our side, not to get too far off your question, our onboarding process is fairly simple. You go to the website, moonlighters.com/apply. You fill out like 5 or 6 questions on there. That'll let you know if you actually qualify to even work with us. If you do, you book a 15-minute call with our team. someone on our team is going to ask more questions to you. We want to make sure we vet every single brand we work with. People get annoyed at this. They're like, well, I'm trying to pay you. It's like, well, we actually only work with certain brands that are actually ready to scale. Once we get through that discovery call, literally 10, 15 minutes, then we get serious and we do an audit. So someone on my team, even sometimes me, I did one today, we do an audit of the ad account in question or ad accounts in question. And then we take it to a strategy call. Strategy call is like an hour-long call, very comprehensive. A salesperson on my team who's just partner in my business, really, really dialed in. His name is Podrick, will 99% be on that call. And he goes through A to Z, soup to nuts, everything that we do on our side. At that point, we know if we're going to put an offer out to the person. He ultimately has the executive decision if he's going to be putting out an offer. If we put out an offer, we begin the onboarding process fairly immediately after. We get access to the accounts and we start on our side. Huge thing on our side is that all the analyses that I just broke down happen before kickoff. So we have an onboarding date. Let's say it's today. 7 days later, that's when we actually decide, or that's when we actually kick off, excuse me. That 7-day gap is when we prep everything. And the goal is that on the day of kickoff, we actually start making changes. We actually move the needle. That, to us, has been one of the smoothest processes out there because it gives us a little bit of time and space to actually do what we need to do to prepare properly. It builds a little tension on the client side to be like, I hope this works. I hope this works. And then when those things actually do start to fire and work and we see improvements in return on ad spend, or we spend more and revenue's going up, those are just like the biggest dopamine rush is given to the client.
I can imagine. I think what you said, and I'm 100% with you, is it's important to learn the platform yourself. That's an advice that I give to all my coaching clients, and they're sort of surprised and say, no, because a lot of brands reach out or startups reach out too early to agencies. They just want to get rid of it, but they have literally no idea how it works. And then what you mentioned is you want to talk to them on eye level. You want to know and understand what you get back and if it's worth it. And I think a lot of brands have been burned, and it's not the fault of the agency. Most likely it's the fault of themselves because they don't know what they have in front of them. So advice to our listeners, learn the platform first. Sam is 100% on point there, and then go and grow with an agency together. Now, onboarding, as I said, I think it's a good step to build up a little bit of momentum first before you really dive in. A really good process. I like that. Tell me about your cost structure. How do you charge for your services?
Yeah, so we charge with a base fee and a percentage of ad spend with everyone we work with. We try to basically position it as base fees, just keeping the lights on. That's just like for us to just pay our salaries. But then the performance fee, that's where we actually make our profit because it's where the actual customer makes their profit too. So everyone on our team, I think this is a huge point actually. Everyone on our team is compensated on client performance as well. So everyone has skin in the game. It's not just me collecting a bunch of cash, right? It's like every single growth director on our team who has 7+ years experience, like worked with dozens of other brands, probably more over their career. They all are getting compensated based on the performance that they achieve for the client as well. And we do percentage of ad spend over everything else. We've tried every model. Percentage of ad spend is the best for sure because the client's always in control of their budget. We're only going to scale when they say, yes, you have the green light to scale at a certain return on ad spend or at a certain CPA. What winds up happening in those revenue models or those ROAS models are, okay, we got your ROAS back to where it is now or where you wanted it to go. And now you have to pay us way too much, which is unsustainable. So let's scale together at low percentages of ad spend that works so well.
Mm-hmm. No, makes sense. And it gives you the flexibility to really work by budget, work by cash flow. I mean, a lot of brands are sort of running on cash flow, and then marketing budget is a bit of a variable factor where they need to look at. Very good. Sam, before our coffee break comes to an end today, is there anything you want to share with our listeners that we haven't covered yet?
I mean, I'll keep it pretty simple for everyone. It's Q4. Get sharp. This is that time of the year. Whether you're working with an agency or not, just take a close look right now, because don't let October blow away and November 1st rolls around, you feel like you need to make a change, because any good agency will not be prepared to take you on with a week's notice. So yeah, really, really lean in, get sharp now, understand what's going on, understand your goals, start to plan for the fourth quarter. And then on our side, look, if you are one of those fits to potentially work with us, if you're at least 10K in ad spend, probably upwards of 20, 30K in ad spend, you can go to themoonlighters.com to apply and to check us out more. I have literally hundreds of free videos and resources on my YouTube channel. If you just want to pick my brain some more, I try to reply to a bunch of comments there, and it's been fantastic. I appreciate all your questions. Appreciate us going over a few minutes here, and looking forward to maybe a round two in the future.
I will put the links, as always, in the show notes. Watching the videos, very good idea. I had a look at the YouTube channel. There's a ton of information. So for our listeners, click in the show notes, check out the Moonlighters, and I'm sure there will be something in it for you. And if you want to really get started, then talk to Sam. Sam, thanks so much for your time today, and I hope to talk to you soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you.